Hey, welcome everybody. This is Eric and Elliot. We're going to try a union podcast. This is the first time we've been doing this, so apologies for any technical glitches or issues. But we want to try a podcast style for a few reasons. We're going to go into depth on a number of topics, just allows us to explain them more thoroughly. And that way you can also listen to them whenever it's convenient for you. We're going to post this most likely to our YouTube page and play it when it's convenient. Just a note, this info is only intended for our members, so please don't share, post copy, or compromise our association's information. So to start off, today President Davis is going to discuss three important topics. And these topics are fairly deep, so we can't adequately cover them in a newsletter or an email. They were touched on in the May union meeting, but President Davis wanted to go a little more in depth to pass on some important info to you. So to start off, we're going to talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. So here is President Davis.
Take a moment to back up a second. This podcast style is certainly not my idea. This is Eric's. I think it's an excellent idea. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. I think this may be a great way to get messages across to our members, and we will be looking for your feedback on that once you get a chance to listen. But here we are. First topic, equity, diversity, and inclusivity. We spoke about this at the main meeting, like Eric mentioned, but we think it's appropriate to present this information in this forum for everybody to have as well. So this has come into our world, just to be really direct, because of our employer's recruitment campaign, where we know that they earmarked, that's my term, of course, not theirs, X amount of seats for the physical for female applicants and X amount of seats at the physical for advanced care paramedics. I think most of our members can get behind the reason why the membership, or why the employer, sorry, would have wanted to slant the competition, so to speak, in the favor of advanced care paramedics. We know we've lost them over the years, and the data on this is, top of my head, if I remember correctly, we have 7% fewer advanced care paramedics below the rank of lieutenant today than we had 18 months ago. Pretty difficult to continue to run an ALS service with fewer paramedics in the way, particularly that we're trying to do it. So I don't think that that's the more pressing issue, but admittedly, I think that the employer sending people through the physical who are for their gender alone is new for us. The truth is, I don't know how new it is, because we haven't had a chance to do our own recruitment in many years. So I don't know if this is new or old, to be really honest, but certainly it's new to our awareness. And I've been hearing things around the stations about how this is a targeted hiring. I don't know if it is or if it isn't, and just simply because no one's ever told me what a targeted hiring is. I can really easily get to a targeted hiring being defined as if the employer is setting out to hire a specific class. So the mandate would be, if I need to hire 10 people of all visible minority, yeah, I could see how that would much more easily be called a targeted hiring. I don't know if this is or if it isn't, but I don't really care what we care it as at this point, because it's what's happening. And what are we doing with it? I know it's got members on edge. I know it's got people concerned, but what is not happening is the employer is not lowering standards for anybody. If they were, we would be significantly in opposition to that and be outright fighting it, because it would just straight up, it would cause a safety concern to that person and you. But that's not what's happening. They have, however, as we know, taken, I don't know how many, but X amount of females and given them an opportunity for the physical. What I've been hearing is some people say, well, you know, if that was happening when I was recruited, I may not be here today. Or I got a friend, so-and-so, who now didn't get a seat at the physical because they gave it to other people. Yeah, fair criticism, fair remarks. Is it targeted hiring though? I don't know. What result will it produce? I also don't know. It is the employer's right to hire and fire who they choose to. The union, we've been invited to be part of the process. We have a committee of our members. We have Eric Lowe is on the committee as our union rep. I'm sorry, Ryan's on the committee as the union rep, but Eric found himself doing the interviews because Ryan was unavailable. The point is, the unions had involvement in this process, which I think is excellent and we welcome. And I think here's some more, just if I can call them straight goods, here it is. EDI is coming our way, and that stands for equity, diversity, and inclusivity. It's coming to the fire service, whether you want it to or not, it just is. And it's all around the world around us. And I think it can be a scary topic, but I want to try and dispel some of those fears or maybe settle some of those fears. And what I mean by that is, I don't think it's necessarily something to be concerned about or fight against. And here's why. And I think there's actually probably a couple reasons why. I think diversity in our workforce can be a very good thing. It can strengthen our membership, our camaraderie, the perspectives we hold, and then of course the services that we can deliver to the people that we must. I think there's value in there, but it does have to be done properly. I don't believe an employer or anybody's EDI initiatives should start and stop with recruitment. I don't think recruitment should be the first pillar of the initiative. I think an EDI initiative should be really thought out, strategic, collaborative, and educational. And on the educational piece, I think is where we have to start as a membership. Why would we do this? And I'd like to share maybe an example that I carry. I think EDI is primarily about identifying your blind spots. And what I mean by that is, you've all walked a certain road in life and you all have certain perspectives and opinions, and they're all valuable. But that perspective can also create a blind spot on somebody else's perspective. And here's my example. There's a word I really, really hate, and it is the F word in regards to someone who's homosexual. I think it's a really offensive word. I think it's rooted in hate, in ignorance, and I think it's designed to put somebody down. When I hear it, and I've heard it in the fire halls, I actually heard it at work not long ago, in the last number of, truthfully, weeks. And I didn't say anything about it when I heard it. Because really, I know when our members are saying it, they're not hate-ridden, they're not angry, but they don't know how it hits me. And there's the blind spot I'm talking about. When I heard it at work recently, certainly the person saying it doesn't know my opinion. They were blind to how it would resonate with me. And the reason why that word bothers me so much, beyond it just being, hate-ridden and heavy, and a nasty word, my uncle is gay. And I have high suspicions that I've got a gay kid in my house. I mean, time will tell on that one. But the point is, these are two people I care for a lot, two of my favorite people in the world. And to hear someone use a word that has in maybe reference to them, or could be in reference to them, that's rooted in such hate and nastiness, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And that's what I mean by blind spot. I think the biggest part of EDI isn't about doing a ticky box to say, oh, look at how diverse we are and how inclusive we are. It is about actual practical things that make people feel more welcomed. And I think the way to start making people feel welcomed is by accommodating where they've come from, the perspective that they hold, and welcoming it into your organization, because it can make you stronger, better rounded, and better at doing the work that we do. So more about blind spots, in my opinion, than anything else.
Maybe Elliot, can I just touch? I'll just touch on the recent interviews, because I was the union rep. So we had interviews from Monday to Friday this week. And part of our job as the association is to make sure that the process is fair and they follow the standards. And I can say, no, there was no shortcuts. There was no favors given. There was equal opportunity to everybody that was invited to come do the physical, come do the interviews, and come do the OSCEs. So at the end of the week, all the scores are tabulated and compared.
Yeah, that's a good addition, Eric. We know those concerns are out there. And maybe I think, likely in conclusion to at least my perspectives on what equity, diversity, and inclusivity are, I think I'd be remiss not to say what we're doing about it as maybe your IFF and your union. So the IFF has a human relations committee, and it's composed of people across all of North America, across the whole IFF. And they serve a number of purposes, but one of the purposes that they serve is to help locals going through human relations related issues. So a pregnant female in operations, if a department has questions about how to handle that, what policies to put into place, what practices to put into place, or maybe even let the woman decide what to do with her body as the appropriate course of action, but they can come in and make some of these recommendations in a kind of a third party way to an employer who may be really in the thick of a problem or a circumstance. But they've also done some just general recommendations. And here's an example of one. Out of this committee, they recommended that the IFF stop concluding their emails or signing off their emails amongst us elected officials or to our membership with the term fraternally. You'll notice when I sign off my emails, I only use in solidarity, but I used to use fraternally. One of the things that we heard from the IFF's HRC was, that's Human Relations Committee, was when we signed off with fraternally, it pulled on this thread for our female members that felt much like an old boys club, a frat house, where misogyny, sexism run rampant, and not necessarily always a safe place for females. It registered to them in a certain way. Those of us that were men in the IFF who were concluding emails with fraternally, they identified that blind spot of ours. That was welcome feedback, and we've adjusted. So, you know, in general, I don't think that this is something to be afraid of. I think it's something that we should welcome. We should embrace it. And in doing so, we can really make it our own to make sure it's done properly, it's done well, nothing is sacrificed to achieve it, and we're doing it for the right reasons that aren't just ticky boxes. I also suspect there'll be many, many more conversations about this in our world over the course of our careers. And know that your executive board is very open to having those conversations with you. So should you be hearing this and you're thinking that we're out to lunch and we've missed the mark and you've got concerns about the perspective we hold on this topic, please let me know. I want to have the conversation with people that are in support of this and agreement, but just as equally, or maybe even more so, people who are not. I welcome the discourse. I welcome the difficult conversations that would be around this, and let's have them. I think that's where we can start to have the education and get ourselves on the right track on the topic. So reach out to us if you have any questions.
All right, thanks, Elliot. So that is the end of our first segment. We're going to be holding another two. If you follow the links after this one, we're going to be talking next about advanced care paramedic members dropping their 5.0 and then attendance management policy.